Hello everybody, welcome back to the Airing Out podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host Sam, and today we're talking about 5 essential mistakes that we can try and avoid on our mental health journeys. Now, before we begin, we're nearly at our goal of 100 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're watching this now and you haven't subscribed, please consider joining our community. And if you're listening on Spotify, maybe leave us a 5-star review. These are the little things that can help us get our message out there to more people and keep spreading what it is that we're trying to do. Thank you to those of you who have stuck around, who keep tuning in every week. Your support means the world to us. Now, without further ado, let's begin the episode. Okay, so today we're not going to beat around the bush. Number 1 is not addressing your problems early. When we don't address our problems, they can fester, they can grow, and they can build momentum. I've experienced that this week, where there's something that I know that I need to do or I need to address, but for whatever reason, I take a step back from it and no, don't do it. But it only grows. As I said, it builds momentum and it becomes a bit more of a monkey on our back that becomes harder to address the longer we leave it. So one of the key mistakes that we can avoid doing is letting these things fester into something bigger than they need to be. And what we can do about that is address it as soon as possible. Address it, sort it, put it behind you. But it's about taking back that control as well. It's about not letting thoughts and problems run amok. It's about taking ownership, about nipping it in the bud and addressing the issue before it becomes something bigger. That is number 1. So number 2 is a big one for everybody who's trying to be better. I have certainly experienced it myself, and when I've spoken to other people who are on similar journeys, they say, yeah, me too. The second mistake that we can try and avoid is to not be a perfectionist and to not obsess over getting things right every single time. We are only human, and what that means is that we are going to make mistakes, and that's okay. If we acknowledge that down the road we're going to make mistakes and it's all right, we can give ourselves permission to make those mistakes, then when it comes round to them, we're not there lashing ourselves on the back and crucifying ourselves for being anything short of perfect. We've spoken in previous episodes, I don't believe perfection exists. And if it does exist, it ain't all that. We are allowed to make mistakes. And not only that, we should make mistakes, because let's not forget, making mistakes are key to growing. If we don't make mistakes, we don't see where it is that we can improve. If you get if you get things right and perfect every single time, sure, you will progress. But if you don't take that 1 step back in order to take 2 steps forward, then I don't believe you're not nearly growing as much, because you're addressing things which aren't quite right, or things that you might not have done right, and then you're developing yourself into a much more rounded individual. So don't be afraid of mistakes. Learn that it's okay to make them, and perhaps embrace them, accept them, and yeah, there are positives in mistakes. Maybe even be grateful for when we make mistakes, because it not only reminds us that we're human, but hey, look, we've just been given an opportunity to grow twice over. So rounding off number 2, the mistake that we ought to try and avoid in our mental health journey is being perfectionists or trying to be perfect. Number 2. Before we start number 3, Ben and I have just discussed how my body language changes as we're talking about things, and how sometimes my confidence dips when I'm projecting certain things. And that's because these are all written from my own experiences. So they're all written from mistakes that I am making, or mistakes that I have been making lately. My point is I'm guilty of all of these. I'm not chalking them up from someone else and pretending that I'm perfect, because I'm most certainly not. So if there are any of these things that you do as well, let us know, because not only would that make me feel better about making these mistakes, but it'll probably make someone else as well. And we want to create this community. Let me try that again. We want to create this community. And so if there's anything that you do that is sometimes a bit of a detriment to your mental health journey, that takes you 1, 2, or 3 steps back when you only want to be taking 1 step at a time forward, then let us know. Please do share with us. DM us on Instagram, on TikTok, or leave a comment on YouTube, and maybe even a comment on the episode on Spotify, because that's a thing you can do, I learned recently. But yes, none of us are perfect, so let's all be imperfect together. Yeah? Anyway, moving on with number 3. Number 3 is self-isolating. That is the 3rd mistake that we should try and avoid on our mental health journey. Now, something that I realised is that self-isolating can be done both voluntarily and involuntarily. And a massive part of this one is that we need to be mindful of when it is, or what it is that it. We need to be mindful of which one it is, or conscious of when this is happening. Because if you do it voluntarily, of course, you know that you're making those decisions of separating yourself from people. But if you're doing it involuntarily, then it might be a bit harder to identify. So I think we've got to be a little bit more conscious of our behaviours, particularly when we're distancing ourselves from people. We need people. That's the entire point of what it is that we're doing here. It's about bringing people together, because I said it once and say it again, it's only you that can do this on your mental health journey, but you cannot do it alone. No matter how alone you feel, no matter how unique the certain circumstances that you're enduring at the moment may feel, you aren't alone. You aren't. There are people that are around you. There are people that care. And if you're in a terrible situation where it might not feel like that there's always going to be someone you can reach out to, whether it's somebody that you know, or if it's somebody, a group or an organisation that are there to support you. You are not alone. And choosing voluntarily or involuntarily to do things more alone, self-isolating, separating yourself from your individuals, your support network, and your friends and your family, or whomever it may be, is only going to make things harder for yourself. And coming back from that might be harder as well. I know how it can feel. You don't want people to be bothered by your business. You don't want to wrap people up in whatever it is that's going on, particularly if it's not good. You know, why bring them down? Why bring these people down? Why get them involved in my business when, you know, I'm having a rough time? I don't want to expose them to that. And I get that. I do. I understand where you're coming from. But you'd be surprised. Empathy is a real thing, and people care, and people will make time for you. The people that you can call your friends, your real friends, and your family, they're not just there for the sunny days. They're not just there for the summers. The friends that withstand the summers and are there with you by your side in the winter, you know, they'll be there for your winter as well. No matter how cold or dark it gets, they'll be there. So, mistake to avoid is self-isolating, taking yourself away from people. We need people, just as other people need us. And that's how we do this. The 4th mistake that we can avoid making is getting stuck in analysis paralysis or overthinking. Oh my God, this is more common than ever before, isn't it? Like, I could explain to you how it feels, but I'm sure you know. The analogy I use is you're going a million miles per hour in your mind, but at the same time going absolutely nowhere. There's so much energy going on. There's so many thoughts, so many problem solving, so many issues, so many fires to put out, things you need to address, things you need to be conscious of, things you need to do, things you need to... And at the same time, you take a step back and you're like, what am I actually doing? What am I achieving? How am I... You're not going anywhere. And that's a horrible place to be. So that is a mistake that we are going to try and avoid. Now, what can we do about that? Now, I mentioned on the podcast before, Alex Hormozy has a little saying which I've been finding useful since I heard it, is that action alleviates anxiety, particularly when it comes to overthinking. So anxiety is just your thoughts run amok, the fight or flight response, thinking too much when not actually doing. So the remedy to that, start doing something. And it doesn't have to be the single thing which is going to resolve all of your problems all at once. Address one of the things. And if you address one of the things, focus on one of those things, then you're not only working to undo that, spider web of issues that you've got going on at the moment, but you're choosing one to select. But that gives you time, and it gives you breathing space away from all the other things while you do the one thing. In doing this one thing, we're choosing the available path. It doesn't matter, like I mentioned, it doesn't matter if it's the right path that's going to solve all your problems. It's choosing the one that's available. It's choosing action over thought. Thought might not get you anywhere, but action will get you towards something. Give yourself a bit of time. And in that doing of the thing, you're giving yourself time and space. You're also allowing yourself the opportunity to check in, take a step back and say, okay, how are we doing? Is this working? What can I do next? Building up that little bit of momentum as you go, one thing at a time, one problem at a time, but you're also ticking things off, getting them done. And it's also about not waiting for answers to all your problems, but solving one, then the other. Don't wait, because in doing nothing, nothing changes. So address one thing. Yeah, it's horrible, it's stressful, unproductive, and it's just not helpful. Bad situation to be in, but a mistake that we can avoid. And it's not the end of the world because there are things that we can do about it. So number 4, avoiding overthinking and analysis paralysis. Now, the 5th and final mistake that we ought to try and avoid is not looking after our fundamentals. And if you start with this last tip, then I think you'll have a good fighting chance with the rest of them. When I talk about the fundamentals, these are the things that we need to maintain on a daily basis in order to be our best selves, or as I mentioned, give ourselves a fighting chance against the day. And these are things like sleep, diet, exercise, and mindfulness. Yes, I'm adding mindfulness in there because you've got to check in with yourself. You've got to see how you're doing upstairs because, additionally, the mind-body connection is a real thing. If you don't look after one, it might have a detrimental effect on the other and vice versa. But sleep, diet, exercise, mindfulness, if one dips, then that can start having that snowball effect. We can't always expect to do these things. Sometimes you might not have time. Sometimes you might be having a really rough or shit day. But another additional little mistake is being too hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. It's okay that if you don't get everything right on a particular given day, particularly if you want to, if you're also on your mental health journey, you know what it's like. You want to uphold that standard and you want to keep going and you want to do right by yourself. Well, sometimes you simply don't have it to give. And that's all right. Giving yourself a bit of grace, time, and give yourself some patience. And give yourself that time. Now, listeners, as we do transition ever so subtly from number 5 into the end of the episodes, one of the ways that you can look after yourself is by tuning into the podcast every week on Mondays. We're going to be consistent, we're going to be here, and we're going to be serving you. Our mission is to make sure that you have the tools, the knowledge, and learning from lived experiences of other real life people. Please consider supporting us on Buy Me a Coffee. We have just realised that the set donations are a little bit optimistic. So if you're listening to this now, then they should have been reduced to something far more reasonable. But we understand how things are at the moment. So if you can't afford that, then a share would be incredibly appreciated. But also like, favourite and subscribe, whichever one you fancy. If you're already subscribed and have already left a rate, thank you so much. But if you're listening and you haven't, hey, join the community, tag along. We've only got good things to come. Thank you for being with us here today, particularly if you've made it to the end of the episode. We appreciate your time and thank you for giving some of it to us. Take care of yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. And we'll see you next week.